Hi, I'm Dan. I like to fix things, even plumbing. But when you're doing plumbing, there's a couple things to keep in mind. First of all, plumbing emergencies are on their own time schedule, so you deal with that. It's good to have a few things already in the house to take care of them. But anytime you can schedule plumbing, schedule it for at least 2 hours before the store is closed. Because plumbing often goes south on you, especially older plumbing in older houses. Things can go wrong. You may need extra parts. You may even have to call a real plumber. So, if you're a do-it-yourself guy, give yourself a couple hours before the store is closed. So, the first problem we ran into today, I wanted to replace a hose bib. Let's start with the job. This is a hose bib. Hose bib is what you hook your garden hose to, and it has a shut-off valve. The old one was wearing out, and it was the old turn thing. It takes you longer to open and shut and close it, but also it has a rubber seal in that. When that rubber seal goes bad, they start leaking. They were good for their time. These are better times, so for plumbers at least. And this has a valve inside, and just a quarter turn opens and closes, and that's a steel or a brass ball inside, nice and shiny chromed, gets chromed brass ball, and that's what shuts the water on and off. These don't wear out for a long time, so you're gonna buy any kind of valve, go with a quarter turn, it's gonna work better. Okay. Now, this came off a half-inch copper standpipe. Half-inch copper is the most common pipes that you'll find in houses. And so to fix this, we need to replace the elbow. This elbow is bent. And so we're going to replace the elbow, and then we need an adapter to go from the half-inch pipe over to a half-inch bib. These bibs come in half-inch and 3/4 inch. So when you're at the store buying them, either know what size you have or just buy two. Buy a half-inch and a 3/4 inch, and one of those is going to fit. You can always take back the other one or save it for other things. So that's what our final assembly is going to look like. But this is plumbing. Plumbing often gives you trouble. The first trouble I have is that this doesn't want to sweat off. Sweating off involves using a torch. If you're going to buy a torch, buy one like this that has a self-igniter. You'll be glad you spent a few extra dollars. So I want to sweat this off, but it may not sweat because there's water in this pipe. Now, I brilliantly went and found the best small little piece of tubing that I had, and this would work if this pipe weren't bent. And I can't fit it down there, so I can't use that. So let's see if this will sweat off without getting the water out. If you're working with pipes that have water in there and you can't get it out, sometimes you can boil it. If there's much in there, you may see steam coming out. What we're trying to do is melt the solder that was used to attach this pipe so we can pull it off the top. You can see the steam coming out now. That means we're boiling water, but the water is preventing the pipe from getting hotter. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Throw that out in the grass because it's very hot. Okay. Like I said, if you're doing plumbing, expect that you might run into problems. If you get a close-up of this, this pipe is distorted, it's not round. Okay? If that pipe's not round, we're not likely to get a good fit when we go back. So I brought another tool. These tools come in various sizes. They come nothing smaller than this, but they come larger sizes. And they're used to cut pipe. They have a little roller cutting blade inside. But oftentimes you don't have much room. So when you don't have much room, then you need something like this small one. It's only big enough to do 1/2-inch copper pipe. But we're going to bring this down a little lower. Put it on. I got to watch this pipe because it's hot. I'm going to run a little water through it to cool it off. So I don't burn my hand. That should do it. And we just turn this round and round. Now, as you turn it around, it's cutting into type. So on each full turn, you need to tighten it again, a little tighter. Just keep turning and keep tightening. Sorry, I'm not editing this. That's just going to take as long as it takes, but it gives you real world expectations. What you run into doing these things. And we're getting close. Okay. Now we have a nice clean pipe, and you're going to get to learn some other stuff. Here's some other tools. This is a pipe deburrer. So we're going to, on the inside of this pipe, there's some sharp edges. We're going to get rid of those by using the deburring tool. That smooths out the inside of the pipe. That feels much better. And now we need to clean the outside of the pipe to accept the solder. Oh, sorry, bumping the camera here. This is meant to spin round and round, but you can't do that here. We don't have the clearance to spin round and round. They make different forms of this. Okay, look at that. We have a clean, shiny pipe. Okay. Have this handy wet rag here. Make it even cleaner. I'm going to clean the dirty water out of this pipe. But the water in the pipe is still a problem because we need to sweat a new pipe on there, a new elbow on there. So, put our hose down here. So we can get a siphon going. Well, this is right here. Okay, now I've gotten the water out down to about there. The water's far enough away now that it shouldn't affect our pipe much. So, now we're ready to put the new elbow on. Since we have two pieces that need to be sweated, we'll do them both at the same time. Now to do this, you can buy a nice kit. This kit costs about $36 at Home Depot, and it provides you with solder, flux, and a flux brush. So, you might be wondering what flux is. Flux is a paste that you put on with a brush, and now that this is clean and mostly dry, I don't have anything else. So I'm going to use a Churchill. Kind of the definition of handyman is that you don't always have every tool, like an electrician or a plumber might have every tool for the job. So you use whatever's at hand. So flux is a paste that you use when soldering. They make different fluxes and solders for electrical and for plumbing. So this is a plumbing kit. So you know you've got the right mix of stuff. And we're going to coat this with flux. The flux helps clean dirty joints, our joints nice and clean, but it also helps the solder to flow, because the solder has to flow all around here to make a tight seal. So we put flux there. Every place we're putting solder gets flux. So we're going to put some inside the elbow, both sides. Okay. And some on the male joint. Make sure that the solder flows. Now, I've already cleaned all of these before adding flux. So the cleaner the fittings are, better the job goes. Okay, so that takes care of the flux part. Put these two pieces together. Put this on. And let's pull this away from our pipe using one of our tools. Now we're ready to solder. So we have our torch. And our solder. Let me warn you about something, okay? Whenever you're soldering, whether it's electronics or plumbing, you never use the torch to melt the solder. You don't do this. You can use a torch and melt solder and melt it onto the object that you're trying to solder. That will produce a cold solder joint. okay? Because if you don't heat the metal, the solder will never adhere properly to the metal. It'll drip down and maybe cover the metal, but it won't make a good electrical connection or a good plumbing connection. So you heat the material, and then you let the material melt the solder. And the way that works is that the hot pieces of metal will actually suck the solder into the joint and deflect the, the purpose of this wet washcloth is to clean it, make it nice and smooth, and not burn your hands in the process. So we take the wet washcloth. Be careful because everything's very hot and you can burn yourself. Okay. Now we're going to let that cool for just a minute. And let's talk about, while that's cooling, let's talk about putting this bib on. We want to put the bib on, but we want to do a couple things first. We want to have our tools ready. We're going to need one set of, you can use wrenches or you can use locking pliers. Vice grips work well. This is a locking wrench. You can use that. If you have a large set of open-end wrenches, that would be ideal. But like most handyman and do-it-yourselfers, you use what you have. So this is going to lock on there. When we put the bib on, we're going to have to put it on tight. We don't want to twist off these relatively weak copper joints. So first thing we're going to do is cool it off by running some water through it. Had to give the solder time to cool first. Okay, that's nice and cool to the touch. Have a little wipe to make sure it's clean. Now, we're going to, before we put the hose bib on, we're going to use some Teflon tape. Teflon tape comes in a little spool, and it does two things. When I took the old hose bib off, it broke. It was completely corroded on. So, the basic function of Teflon tape is stopping leaks. It fills in the gaps around the threads and makes it a lot less likely that your connection is going to leak. When you put it on, you want to put it on in the same direction that you're going to be tightening. You're going to tighten this clockwise. So we're going to wrap this. I'm going to give it about 3 wraps in a clockwise direction. And then put my thumb there and just snap it off, smooth the edges. Now we're ready to add our hose bib. And we're going to prevent leaks, but we're going to make it easier for the next guy that does this, which may or may not be me. But you always want to think about the guy that has to come behind you, or a girl, or a man, or a woman. But think about other people and make it easy for them, because someday, maybe many years from now, someday somebody's going to need to take this hose bib off if it eventually goes bad. And when they do, you can have an easier time because I put Teflon tape on there. And if you want to be a real craftsman and a decent human being, when you do your work, think about the guy that's got to come behind you. Okay. So the wrench on the left is preventing damage to our pipe. Almost tight. I just want to get this upright if I can. This should be the last twist. I'm going to turn the water on. And if nothing leaks, we have success. So, I'll take my equipment out of the way so it doesn't get wet. Turn the water on. And there we have it. We have a better flow than we had before. We have a new hose bib. It's a quarter turn. It's super easy to turn it on and off. Why would you ever want to waste your life going cranking and cranking and cranking and uncranking and uncranking when a quarter turn's all you need and works better than the old style ever did? So that's it. That's plumbing for today. There's several lessons in here. Remember, if you start a plumbing project, start it early enough in the day so if it goes bad on you, that you'll be able to run to the store and get the parts you need to fix it, or even call a plumber if everything goes south. Okay, that's it. I'm Dan. I like to fix things. I like to go camping, hang out with my wife, and have a nice life. I hope you're having a good life too. Wish a good life for everybody. Hey, when we're out camping, maybe we'll see you down the road.